Hey guys, this is Al again. I'm at the house this time and wanted to give you a quick update on the Jag. So I had the car delivered. It came in on Tuesday, so it took about 6 days to get here, which is great. Car runs well. I took it in for an inspection, and let me turn the camera around so you can see it. And you know, all passed, went well, which is great. And now, you know, I went to get it registered, and unfortunately they told me that I had to get a VTR 68A. VTR 68A is this form that you need to have specially filled by the auto theft division. It's usually used when they can't identify the VIN number on a car. Yeah, and that happens if the car is a private import or something like that. The problem is I've had to do those before, and it just seems to me like nobody wants to do it. I don't want to do it. The guys in the law enforcement who are doing the auto theft stuff don't want to do it. So it's always a real difficult situation getting it done. But I got an appointment scheduled for next week. So what I want to do is I just want to get the car road ready and then take it up there. I want to get the AC checked out. I want to see what's going on with the air conditioning, because it doesn't work right now and it could have just leaked out. So today what we're going to do is we're going to check the pressures, and then we're going to pull a vac maybe and charge the system up if it holds a vac. So give me a few seconds, let me set up, and I'll start filming. Alright, so we've got the hood up right now. You can see that the low side has been converted to 134. That's a big blue one, but the high side is converted still on R12, so they didn't bother changing the high side fitting over to 134, which might not be a bad thing, because I think if it's stuck up too high, it would damage the old the hood. It'll put a big ding in the hood. So that's probably why they didn't do that. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to use a mishmash of high and low side gauges. I have two sets of gauges. I have a set of R12 gauges and a set of 134 gauges. So I'm just going to use them both, and we can just read the low side on one gauge and the high side on the other. It's no big deal. So let me set the camera up, and I'll get the gauges and we can start watching this. Maybe I don't need to use two. Yeah, I don't need to use two gauges. I can use the. I can just remove the adapter. You can see that this thing's got a high side adapter. I just unscrewed it so I can use the regular R12 gauges, regular 134 gauge set. There's a little bit of pressure in that system, but not a lot. Alright, so with the engine turned off, I'm reading 15 psi on 30 psi on the low side and 30 psi on the high side. So it seems like it's got a little bit of freon, but it's not enough to charge the system. I may just add freon and see what it does. I don't think, if it has pressure in it and there's still pressure in the system, it may not be worthwhile pulling a vacuum. So we'll see what happens. So there's not enough pressure to engage the clutch on this system. So what I am going to do is I'm going to pull a vac and see if it holds a vac, and then I'm going to charge the system up, and then that way maybe it'll engage, and then everything will start working better. So give me a second while I set this up, and then as you can see, I've got my vacuum pump over here. Actually I have two vacuum pumps, but this one works pretty well. It's a Harbor Freight one. It was like around 70 bucks when I bought it about 10 years ago, and it's worked fine. I also have a bigger one that's I keep at the house. So Okay, so both lines are hooked up. You can see that the high side is hooked up to that fitting on the other side of the compressor, next to the I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. I don't know what it's called. But the low side is also on the compressor side. It's actually been converted to 134, so it has a different fitting. Gauges are all hooked up. Pump's hooked up. So what I'm going to do basically is start pulling a vacuum. Just turn the pump on. And then start pulling the vacuum. So I'm going to leave this running for maybe half an hour, and then I'll shut the taps off, and you can see right there it's going into negative vacuum right there on the high side, and also negative vacuum on the low side. So I'm going to basically just let this thing run, and then when I get back I'll turn the vacuum pump off, shut the taps, and see if it holds it back. If it does, then I'll charge the system up. Alright, so we've held it back for a while, so I'm going to go tighten up the taps. Turn this off. Alright, so as you can see, I do my own AC work. It's not really that difficult. There's a great book out there that's by Haynes, you know, the Haynes manuals guys. They have an AC manual. I can't remember the name, but I bought it maybe about 12-13 years ago. And it was really useful to understand how, you know, pressures work and how to charge the system. But in short, you know, what we do is we hook up the low side and the high side. I'm just going to keep it simple for simplicity's sake. So, you know, you hook up the low side and high side, and you check the pressures, right? When the AC is running, there's two sets of pressures that are key. You know, the low side pressure really tells you that's the suction side, and that tells you, you know, how much the compressor is sucking. And the high side really tells you how much freon is in the system. So when I try to charge a system, I look at what the current temperature is, you know, what the ambient temperature is, which is, you know, right now today is about 95 degrees. And I usually charge 2.5 to 3 times that much on the high side. So, you know, I'll add freon when it hits about 230, 240. I'll check the system, check the temperature in the car, in the vents, and if it's cold enough, I'd usually leave it there. It may be a little bit undercharged. Some people go, you know, a little bit higher. I don't like to, because, you know, when you're driving and you're running on the highway, your pressure is going to spike, and maybe your fans can't keep up, and then, you know, you could cause damage to your compressor. So I usually stick to, you know, 2.5. But right now, I've shut the taps off. I've shut the vacuum pump off, and I'm going to see if this system will continue to hold the vacuum. And I'll leave it for maybe 20 minutes. And if it holds the vacuum, then I'll go back in and charge the system up with 134 and see what happens. So stay tuned, and we'll be back in touch. Alright guys, so we're ready to charge the system up. I've got my my freon can. If you just come swing by over here. Okay, I've got my 30-pound freon sitting over here, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to start running the engine, and then I'm going to start charging up the system. Alright guys, so the fan's now running. This car's got like a little bit of electrical problem, so it took a while for the fans to engage, but now that they're running, what we're going to do is, when you charge the system, you always charge through the low side. You never charge on the high side. So we're going to open the tap a little bit. hopefully if the compressor's working, we should see the clutch engage pretty quickly. Alright guys, so we ran into a little bit of a snag. So the compressor wasn't engaging, and it seems like whatever's supposed to trigger the compressor, you know, that power connector over there, wasn't. Right now I've jerry-rigged it to a wire going to the battery, so that the compressor engages. It's manually engaged. I basically dumped the wire. But it wasn't engaging. Now that it is engaging, you can see that the high side's on 220, the low side is right around 40, so it's charged adequately. I'm going to go in the car and check the temperature. Not really feeling that much cold air come through, but if it hasn't run in a long time, that's kind of normal. What I am noticing is that these vents appear to be closed, and I'm not sure exactly how to. They're open. How to get them open. I'm not sure exactly how. Maybe kind of a thing, but I am getting cold air out of this. Yeah, so this is starting to blow cold, but obviously there's not much air movement, and obviously there's a lot of air movement coming out of the top vent over here, but nothing coming out of the center vent. Of course, the water temperature is reading 0, which is terrifying, because we know it's not 0. The oil temperature is reading 0, which is terrifying, we know it's not 0. And the fuel gauge reading full, and I know it's not full, but it is what it is. There's obviously some electrical stuff that I need to deal with because the compressor's not engaging by itself. Maybe a pressure switch, it may be a fuse. I haven't figured it out. Relay, haven't figured it out yet. You know, I'm just trying to do discovery, but the system does seem to be holding a charge, and it does hold a back, and it is blowing cold air, but it's only blowing cold air from the top and the side vents, not through the center vent, which is really where you need it. So there's stuff for me to do, but the system does seem to take a charge. And we'll just take it one step at a time and figure that out. So I'll give you guys an update in a few days once I've got my hands on it. Thanks very much. Alright. Hey guys, so I've been dealing with another issue on this 94 XJ12, the V12 car. So we got the car running, we put the fuel pump back in place, everything started working fine. But now for some reason it's not wanting to start, and I'm not sure exactly why. I was backing it up onto this lift, and I got to exactly where I am right now, and it died, and I haven't been able to get it restarted. I removed that fuel line over here, and when I removed it, I could see that there was fuel going out, so we just cranked the engine, and it was filling up with fuel. So I know it's getting fuel to the rail. I don't know. You know, when we're testing this, I'm just directing it towards the feed pump, and it's not really coming out at like really high speeds, but I'm guessing it'll build pressure as it runs, right? So it should build pressure over time. But that's one thing that I know that I'm definitely getting fuel. I checked with my stethoscope, and I could hear the injectors click, so I know that the injectors are functioning correctly. I listened to all of them while the engine was cranking, and I just took
one of the plug wires off, attached a spark plug to it just to test, and I could see that the spark was firing on the plugs. So it's getting spark, it's getting fuel. Not sure exactly what the pressure should be, but that's a little bit perplexing, because if I'm getting fuel and I'm getting spark and I can hear the injectors click, then I would expect the car to fire, and it doesn't. If anyone knows how much volume of fuel should basically pass over a certain number of seconds, I can do a test, crank the engine for 10-15 seconds and see if it fills up, half a liter, 250 milliliters, whatever it is. Then that may be something that I can test to see if I'm getting the right amount of flow. I'm definitely getting fuel, but it may be insufficient flow. I did open up this line over here, and there was a little bit of fuel that came out that side, so I know that there's fuel coming out the other end. And what I'm really concerned about is that if I can't get the car to start, then eventually it's going to hydrolock, right? If it's going to be, if I keep cranking on this, and it's getting fuel to the rails, and it's firing the injectors, then eventually that fuel is going to go into the cylinders. I don't know if it's going to hydrolock. Hopefully the valves will open up and it'll pump the stuff out, but it has me a little bit concerned. So any ideas? Certainly let me know. But that's really about it. I'm kind of at a loss right now with this thing. I remember something being said about these sensors, that maybe they could be causing problems. They're both connected on both sides. So I don't know whether they're connected on both sides, but let me just check. Oh, they're connected, yeah. I have everything connected tight. There was a vacuum line that was disconnected on that fuel, I guess pressure regulator or something like that. I'm not sure what that is, but there's a vacuum line that was disconnected here that I reconnected. But that's about the only thing that I can see that's a problem. I don't see anything else. I don't feel any rich running from the exhaust. I don't smell any raw gas from the exhaust. I'm not sure exactly what's going on. But if you have any ideas, please let me know. That's kind of I'm stuck here at this point with this car right now, and I'm a little bit disappointed because we made some real progress with it. So I would have liked to keep the momentum going. But there you go. All right, guys. Well, thank you very much, and I'll catch up with you guys next week. If you can, leave some comments if you have any ideas as to what you may think is going on with this car. Thank you.